Welcome to this special issue of TFR Let's Talk for SLOConf. I'm your host, Nobl9 Bhartia, and my first guest for this conference is Brian Singer, co-founder and chief product officer at Nobl9. Brian, it's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be here, Swap. It's great to be with you again.
We have spoken so many times, but I just want to refresh memories of our audience. Tell us quickly about Nobl9.
We're a company that focuses on helping organizations improve their reliability through the adoption of service level objectives. We have a platform, the Nobl9 SLO platform, that makes it easy to take telemetry from various sources and turn it into SLOs.
What kind of adoption you're seeing for SLOs?
So it's really pretty astounding, the level of interest that organizations have, both large, the very largest organizations, as well as small. And I think one of the really interesting things with SLOs is there's no right way to adopt them. We see some organizations taking a very bottoms-up approach where their SRE team might work with one or two teams to try to get SLOs in place, and then other teams start to see what's going on there and the benefits, and it kind of makes its way throughout the org. We're also seeing some very large organizations, Fortune 500s, et cetera, that established SRE program offices and are driving adoption of SLOs from top down, which has also been very effective. So there's no right way to do it. We're seeing both sort of bottoms up and top down. But the important thing is there's something that's become somewhat normalized within the enterprise. So everyone is now starting to expect to have them.
Oh, that's actually good to hear. So if we do look at cloud native, we see that developers, DevOps, they have more influence than manager mid-level. So when we look at SLO, where is the influence coming from?
I think it's a couple places. One is executives are starting to realize that how well they run their products is a direct reflection on the bottom line, and how competitive they are in the market. So it's no longer a thing, operations where, hey, how little can we spend to get by? It's an understanding that they can drive competitive advantage by having a better grasp and better processes when it comes to operations at an executive level, and be able to better answer the question of, am I spending the right amount of money on this? Are my people doing the right things? And then from the bottoms up, I think operators get obviously very tired of being alerted on things that don't need their attention, or having other sort of operational issues get in their way. Like nobody wants to get paged in the middle of the night for something that doesn't need to get fixed. So then they're also driving interest in adoption because they see the benefits that SLOs can bring in terms of making the day-to-day operations of services easier.
So now let's change gears and talk about SLOConf. Tell us, if I'm not wrong, this is the first time you're hosting this conference. Tell us about the idea, the story behind the conference.
We were part of a smaller community that started actually as an in-person SRE meetup called the Seattle SRE Meetup. Our COO Kit Merker had gotten that started about a year and a half ago even. And what we found was that there was a real hunger for content around reliability practices and service level objectives in general, because this is something that folks understand. You have to implement these SLOs before you can make progress in a lot of other areas related to SRE. And so, SLOConf really just started as a conversation among some of the organizers of that SRE meetup that had obviously moved online with COVID about 2 months ago. And it was more like a public, I think, tweet where Kit said, hey, is anyone interested if we organize a conference focused on SLOs? And there were a lot of replies, and we said, okay, well, maybe there's something here. We'll spend a little bit of time on it. And the interest from the community has really blown away our expectations. Kit actually announced this morning on the stand-up that there's over 2,000 attendees at SLOConf that have signed up from over 500 companies, 500 to 600 companies, and 70 different countries. So you can see that there's just a lot of interest in these concepts, and we ended up with, I think, 40 talks from phenomenal speakers, sort of folks that have been pushing the envelope when it comes to service level objectives. And I think one of the interesting things for me is when you talk about these with someone who isn't super well versed. It's like, oh, well, an SLO seems like a pretty basic thing, not that hard to understand or implement or calculate. But when you see some of these talks, folks get into the depth of, how do you actually define it and calculate it, and what some of the time-based math looks like. You start to understand that while the end result is very powerful, actually implementing SLOs at scale in an enterprise is very challenging. And so we're just excited to have a lot more content out there from practitioners, from experts, for people that are interested in the area to be able to get access to.
What are going to be some of the common themes or discussions during the conference?
Sure. Well, I think one of them is the cultural aspects of adoption. How do you get your organization to the point where people want to do this? Because a lot of the work in implementing service level objectives is work that has to be done by people that understand the underlying services or underlying user journeys, right? Product managers. So part of it is like, how do I train my organization to do these and help them understand what the benefits are? It really does, if you talk to the best SREs in the industry, they'll tell you that everything starts with people in operations. And so there's a lot of great content around that. And then also, how do you sort of sell this concept to executives at a company who might not be familiar with it? And I think, one talk in particular by Niall Murphy, who's a former SRE from Microsoft, went out and started his own company. So he's giving a talk, how do I get my VP to sponsor an SLO project? Something along those lines. So that's a great talk. I would encourage people to look at. Obviously, there's a couple from Nobl9 folks. One in particular, Carrie Melich, who's an SRE at Nobl9, also talking about some of the human elements behind adopting SLOs. How you get your culture to the point where everybody's ready for it. And she's got great experience because before Nobl9, she was actually at Squarespace, which is a company that has sort of wholesale adopted SLOs as well.
So we are in a phase where everything is happening online. I miss those old days of physical conference, that when you are on physical location, you're kind of trapped there. So you have to go to booths, you have to meet people. With online, it's just another tab on your computer. So tell me, what are you doing to engage people and how they can get most out of this conference?
SLOConf was designed to attend while at work. So it's a modern conference in that regard. And I know many of us are looking forward to the future days of hallway tracks and, being able to see in-person content. But SLOConf, people are across many different time zones, sort of all over the world. So the content is available now. If you register, you can go see it on YouTube. It's all available now. There are a few talks that are happening in real time as they happen. But by and large, you can get access to the content through YouTube. And then there's a sort of lively Slack forum where you can go in and you can ask questions. You can reach out to the people who created the content, other attendees. So I was just checking, there's a pretty lively, robust conversation ongoing in there. So would encourage you, if you're interested, to join the SLOConf Slack. And that's something that will probably remain up after the conference. So, hopefully should be a pretty good community to get your questions answered.
Brian, thank you so much for talking to me about not only the growing adoption of SLO, but also this conference. I wish, as you said, we could have done it in person where we could have met the committee also, but we're all excited about the conference and we look forward to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And, who knows, maybe next year we'll be able to do this one in person.